And boom, and we're live. And well, welcome to. Well, let's start this off. Welcome back to the where it's all began. Time becomes a loop and all that crap, man. How you doing tonight, boys?
Hello. How are we, Tim? Wonderful. Cheers, Tim. Happy to be here and happy anniversary to the podcast, man. Yeah, man. Life is big. Life is two.
Life is people 3, man. We're entering into a new era, man. I mean, this is one of the things that we were just talking before we went live, man. I think it's fascinating to at times. It's maybe at these moments when you do look back and realise the things we've done at the time, man. And I was sort of contemplating this today, thinking just in relation to the Seething Demons and where this sort of it was 3 summers ago, but so much has been crammed in into 3 years and the events and stuff, and you just realise how quickly time goes, but how much equally again, how much has been laid, how many stones have been laid, and how much groundwork has been done, and how much stuff that you can be proud of. I'm sure I think it's just stuff you look back and think, oh, actually, it's really, we've actually achieved quite a bit, which is one of the things I remember you mentioned before, Dan, saying that it's something that a lot of the creatives we never do. We always just on this urge forward, never to stop and look back.
Yeah, absolutely, mate. And I hear that. That's the point that we've raised before. And yeah, you've got to sort of look at the journey in a bit of hindsight. And like you said, it's the 3rd summer that we've been running with Live's People. For us, we came on the first the early incarnations of it, and then obviously it all really got kick-started in late September 2 years back,
2014. Yeah,
2014. So if you look at the sort of journey that we've and the discussions that we've had along the way, we put out quite a lot of music. You've done so much art. The amount of contacts that everyone's been sort of building up and slaying forward with, and that it is quite it's quite surreal, really, when you get that broader insight in viewpoint off it all. Then we're all traveling on this journey, man, and yeah, man, it's great little landmarks like this anniversary. It's been running for 2 years. The amount of guests that you've had on yourself as well, Tim, it's phenomenal, and it's just connecting so many different people across the globe. That can only be a good thing, man.
Well, I think it's just all part of this process of being. I'm more and more aware of this. Is that it's about I think it's the heart of what we do as a creative person. I mean, it's something we can delve into. What drives you behind what you do. But when we strip it all down, whether it's music, whether we're doing art, whether it's just these conversations, it's all about we as a species, as a human being, we're just trying to break down the barriers, and that's what I love about the times that we do live in. And I think sometimes it is good to look back and think, okay. The word is collaboration. It's amazing how much, if you just open your heart up, open your mind up, you can step out and can reach, and then things do get built. And it's this process that pushes us all forward. And this is the point. I mean, to relate this to the Life is People, Dan, I just go to anybody that inspires me and have a conversation, because I think these conversations need to be had, because it goes back to something else we were saying before we went live. We live in a world where the paradigm is in a shift, but we're not being fed this stuff. I mean, it frustrates me, Dan, that it's left to people like these conversations through the internet. This should be sitting down tonight, and we should be on the media, should be everywhere, should be having this conversation everywhere, because ultimately, like we were saying beforehand, it's just all illusions, it's all distractions, all the Brad and Jelena stuff, all the the corruption, all it's all just distractions at the end of the day, and that's, do you feed that distraction or do you step back from it? And this is what I think we need, that I love about what we the creatives do, is that we try to illuminate those areas of life that aren't generally spoken about, because generally I think the areas of life we talk about are the areas that really matter. I mean, it doesn't really matter about Angela and Jolene, or it doesn't even matter about Sam Allardyce and the corruption, or what. None of this really matters. What really matters is how you are as a person, how you're connecting with people around you.
Yeah, right on. Absolutely feel that, like Tim. Yeah, like the world is full of too many distractions, too many illusions, and too much corruption, and it's easy to get swept up in it all, and sort of a bit deluded with it all. But like this conversation here is real. Life with people is real. You're talking to real people throughout the world, and yeah, it's getting that balance, though, isn't it? Between it's nice to be swept up in the illusions and to just embrace things, whether it's watching a film or something, or watching a football match. I mean, these are also forms of art, but it is very important to sort of step back from them and look around and look at what you've achieved and look at what just look at things from multi points of view.
Oh, I agree with you, Dan. I mean, I think it's one of the fortunate things that we've got about living in this part of the world, that we do have the ability to sit down and watch a film. Hey, there's nothing wrong with being distracted, dude. I mean, that's the point. I mean, if you got that and go back a few generations to your part of the world, mate, the ability or the pleasure of being able to sit down in your own home watching an HD TV. You ask your granddad about that, man, when he finished that, they're working hard graft all day. So, hey, and that's never a bad thing. I don't think it's ever good to go back to those times. When you hear people talk, glorify the glorious past, and you think, really?
Right.
Oh, come on, man, really? I won't want to go back to the 90s, let alone back to the 50s. So I think you're good, man, and you're right. That's what I mean. This is the duality of what we creatives do. On one hand, we know about the distractions of life, but we love to feed that distraction. But then I think it's all about there was a great comedian that made a quote. I can't remember exactly line for line what she said, but she's one of the lines she said to me when we were talking, ironically, on Life is People, and she said sometimes you just got to feed the people, spoonfuls of sugar and put the little drop of medicine in, and that's exactly what we're doing. That's why I think always the creative people, the artists and musicians, that's why we are the outsiders, the dissidents, the rebels, the people who want to, because we're the only ones that are actually looking at life and saying, well, okay, the distractions is great, but can we look beyond the distractions? Because as you know, I mean, what drives the creative people usually is it comes from that part of inside of the humanity, which is the element of pain and us trying to express that thing that a dolphin or a dog can't do. A dog can't, and a dolphin can't get a pen and a paper and express that. We can, and we do that. I don't know. I'll open it up to you. I think we do that as a creative, and again, I'll hand this over to you. But my drive to do anything when I'm trying to do that is trying to go, okay, I'll give you a glimpse of that experience, and hopefully from that you'll gain something and learn something, and I've been real rather than just sitting back, which is one of the things that has always frustrated me. And I don't know if it's saying it's almost like the push in my life. I can't understand in any way, as much as I tried to spend a long time empathizing and get my head around it, I can't understand anybody who just sits back and lets life just wash over them, and then they get to 70 and they're like, what happened to my life? I just can't understand that, because we have got this short time, and I know it's something that was a root of what you talk about, and this because it's a real experience to you, and it's what you're playing this distraction, is that our time is short. And that's why I'm fascinated to what you think about it, because I think all you're trying to do through what you're trying to, every Demons tracks you put out or anything you put out creatively is basically just to try to get, open up and show the realness of life, and hopefully that someone else at the other end takes something from it. I mean, if not, then surely that's the reason why we give it out. If we didn't, you'd just be sitting in a room doing it to yourself.
Yeah, for sure, man. Like, it's good for yourself as well, isn't it? Like to do something like creative, to get something out off your chest, and like you say, if it does connect with someone, I mean, and that's an incredible thing. But like the essence of it, I guess, comes from your own desire. You don't want to just, I don't know, you just have something to say. You want to put the pen to the page. I'll paint the picture, like, and sometimes like we can all get, like you just go with
the flock. You become a sheep essentially. You go with the flow of things, and sometimes you have to step back and question things, and express it in your own way, I think.
Yeah, completely. And like you said, I mean, it's trying to get that expression across and be real, because I think it's, I mean, I always think it's worth always talking about these things. I mean, it's the heart of what you the Demons is all about. It's this short moment we have, this tiny little moment we have in the universal experience. Now, hey, I mean, we could go down rabbit holes to know what happens before and what happens after, but all we do know right now is that this is a moment, and to live in that moment, experience that moment, and it's because that's what I'm saying. Because, and again, it always goes back to, right now, Paul isn't here. He can't have this conversation. He can't listen to this conversation. And it's then you realise how fortunate we are that we still are here in 2016 and we can. And to let that that's what I was trying to say, just to let that life just wash over you and just be passive to it. I think that's just, to me, that's what separates the creative from the non-creative, is that we can't just accept the passive over noise of life and just giving into it. Because it relates to the fuck I just said before. People we know aren't here, so you do it for the fact of, okay, well, what would they do if they're here? I mean, it sounds, I don't know, maybe it sounds a bit cliche, but I do everything. I do think, okay, well, I'm doing this for Paul. I'm doing this for everyone I know who's fallen along the way, because they're not here. So what would they do if they were sitting right here? It goes right back to the beginning of this where this whole this journey of this life of Paul started. It was a conversation like with Bill Hicks, and I always think, what would he do if he was here now? And that's what I'm trying to say. We have to, which is great. This is the duality of life. We can get. That's what I'm trying to say. There's, as much as there's a negative part of life, there's the real positive, because it's like we've got these tools, and it's that, to me, is the frustration I find with people who go, we've got all these tools. They may be clunky, but not to use them. I don't know how. I mean, I throw that to you. How do you feel about that? As two people, you're surrounded by people, and in the music industry, well, you sort of names and stuff. But how do you feel about people who, that? Well, let's phrase this another way. What do you think it is that holds back the people who maybe have something to say that don't have, that don't go out there? Is that the barriers of the society? Is that fear? What do you think? What do you think drives those creative people from not stepping out of the shadows and doing into the light of the world and saying, look, hey, this is what I am. This is what you need to hear. What do you think stops those people? Because I know we have in private conversation. We all know people who are like that. So what do you think holds them back?
I think, everyone needs a certain outlet, don't they? Like, doing music, for us, it's very much a release. It's quite cathartic, and it's like therapy, which we've said many times before. That's how we sort of use creativity. But I mean, everyone's different. A painter like yourself, you express yourself through doing art. Other people, everyone's different, aren't they? Really. So
so it creates it. I guess it comes out in different ways with different people, like you're saying, man.
But yeah, I mean, like some people, they might get just as much consuming like creativity as you might do, or I might do creating it. I'm like that with other music, like there's music that I'll listen to which will really evoke feelings and emotions, and that's a healthy thing. So I think, not everybody, perhaps people feel like if they don't want to express themselves through creativity, that's not to say that they can't express themselves, but that they perhaps choose not to, but they will get a release from taking and absorbing other art forms,
Yeah, and I don't think it's just art forms as well, like football, for example. Like, see people who you know, that's their emotional kind of release to some degree. Yeah, I think everybody has something, but I think like in terms of like the creativity side, getting back to what you were saying, Dan, like, and how, you know, listening to an artist might inspire you to want to try that to begin with. Do you know what I mean? Like for us to like listen to things that made us want to make kind of obscure rap, you know, like, and that was like, everything's kind of got its cause and effect from that, really. And, you know, and that's a beautiful thing, because that will bring people together that feel like they connect to that certain thing, or, you know, it's it really is an amazing thing. It's just creating impressions and stuff, and everyone's constantly absorbing the impressions of life, innit, and the impressions of their daily lives. Could be anything. I mean, going walking to work, seeing the trees, the season, the time of year, it all plays a part. And yeah, I think, you know, so in terms of what you asked about people being afraid to be real and that, you know, not everyone wants to be open up and feel vulnerable. You know, I think every artist, if you're doing something which you put your full heart and into, then you do make yourself vulnerable. You might talk about things which are very personal, so that makes vulnerable. But not everybody expresses themselves with that same kind of mindset. Do you know what I mean? Not everyone wants to feel that sort of bare, perhaps.
Yeah, I mean, it goes back to us as a species, as what we are as human, man. I mean, it's one of the things I talk about. Well, I think it's fascinating when you hear people talking about, you know, like, you know, stay away from certain substances. You know, don't do this, don't do that, because you know the fear of the paranoia. And you think, well, as I've said this many times, I don't want to repeat myself, but hey, go outside at night, look at the stars above you, and if that doesn't make you paranoid to think that we're just tumbling in the universe. And this is the thing: we're a species, we are vulnerable, Dan. This is the thing, and I can understand why human beings feel like that. I think it ties into what you were saying earlier on, Si, when you were saying about why people like sports and football, because it's the same thing. I mean, I've had that experience. You know, I've walked around the middle of, you know, Paraguay, and you know, with a little Leeds badge on, and someone's go, "Oh, Leeds United," and it's like, yeah, it connects you, and and that's one of the great things. And but what I'm trying to say is I don't know. I think an area that's maybe fascinates me, I contemplate a lot, is like, I understand that vulnerability, but it was that vulnerability that drove me when I was, you know, put the first bits of word I did out on paper. Yes, damn right, man. I was in a low place, and you feel, but there was a reason that then I put that onto a piece of paper, and then I went from, and hey, and this is why I'm not talking from someone who doesn't know. Hey, I went for years of not, you know, it was all myself, and I had this whole almost thing. I think it's a process and the stage that all creative people go through. They got this thing about almost they carry a burden around them. It's like you say in one of the Demons tracks, you know, you carry the crucifix around with you of like being a creative genius. And it's like, then people project their ideas upon what you think they are, and they project, they think, oh, he's got to be an outsider, and he doesn't talk to people, or it's the other way around, they've got to be a party fiend. And it's a hard crucifix to drop that stuff, but when you do eventually put that out, Dan, I always want to do it, because I thought, if I'm not expressing this and letting you know that, hey, I'm just a human being, this is how we can feel vulnerable, hey, but that's all that I am. That's me being as real as it is in the moment. And this is the thing what we need to do, because the creative people, this is the great charge we have as falls on us as responsibility as creative people, is to be real and put that across. Because then someone else goes, oh, do you know what? I'm not the only one. It's not just me. And that is that's happened to me, dude. The amount of songs, the amount of tracks that are, you know, I've been in a dark, swimming in those dark, murky waters, and what's pulled me back, literally from life and death, has been listening to a track, and it's gone, okay, right, and he's reached out to me, and I'm not the only one. And if this person can do this and understand what I'm feeling, now look at them, and they're living and breathing, what okay, what excuse have I got to swim further down those dark and murky waters, man? And this is the power of what we do. And that's why I'm trying to say you're right, Dan, because it is a duality that you don't want to be vulnerable, but it's that vulnerability that has the power to people and has the power of language, has the power of sound. It's a very powerful thing. So it's a duality of being, like you said, being very vulnerable, but that being very vulnerable is the most powerful element that any human being can ever express.
Definitely, mate. And I think a good example of that I've been listening to a lot recently is Nick Cave and the Bad Seeds have just put out a new record. And Nick Cave recently lost his son last year. Excuse me. Yeah, tragically lost his son last year. He died in some accident, basically, and his new album called The Skeleton Tree. Skeleton Tree. You know, there's a lot of that rawness. It's a very dark album, but you know, you can tell he's found a little bit of solace in putting his heart into that.
Basically, it's unbelievably raw. Sorry, it's just fucking choking then. And yeah, it's just, he's one of those artists who I feel can really tap into that, its own sort of, you know, personal sorrow, essentially. And he's projected that in like such a beautiful, heartbreaking, but very real sort of way. And, you know, maybe that's it. Like there's certain artists that can, you know, take something so tragic and put it into a piece of art. I think another big artist who did something like that, David Bowie, you know, he passed away this year, as we all know, and his last piece of work, his last record, was essentially just tackling all those sort of things of dying, and not. It's kind of a testament to his own life, but very real. And I don't know, I guess there's certain artists like that that can just channel themselves and be so vulnerable. Obviously, Bowie's passed on, but you know like the Nick Cave record, like I've said, for me, it's a very beautiful thing, and it resonates with me. And likewise, I'm sure it does for countless other souls. You know what I mean? And it just music has that power, you know. Like all art and creativity in general, it has that power.
Dan, I mean, both of you. I mean, there's plenty of musicians and bands. I mean, Eric Clapton, another one, man. He saw his son, you know, fall from an apartment window, man. I mean, go to the other extreme. Metallica, man, lost a bass player in their band. I mean, it's a very common one, because I think it taps into what we're talking about, really. I think that let's be real about it. I think with most, you know, all human beings, when they at some point are going to have to face a moment of reality. That moment is not going to, you know. I mean, one of my films on, and I'm chatting, you know, I love Ryan to be here because you concur with me on this. But one of my favorite films of all time is 13 Assassins, and the idea of this is a shogun warlord guy, and he's just had it. Think he likes all the time. He can kill easy, he can have anything he wants, any desire he wants. And there's the end bit, which I don't want to sort of, you know, spoiler it, but at the end of it, there's a scene where the two samurais face each other, and one of them is this shogun. And when he dies, you see the moment in his face. He just turns, and it's like he realizes that death is going to hit him. And it's the same. That's the core of what it is all about. There's no, I don't care whether you're Angelina Jolie or anything. We're all on the same rock. We all wake up in the morning. We all eat food to have energy, and we all shit and we all sleep. We all wake up and we do the same process. And one day that Reaper's going to come and get us all. And this is what I'm trying to say. You know, that's why when you're at the moment, whether it's, you know, like you're saying, Nick Cave in that moment, whether it's you guys, man, it started that real moment for you. I've been there. But the reason you do it is because you think, okay, I'm in this moment. This is going to hit a lot of human beings. What am I feeling in this moment? And what you express through your tracks, what Nick Cave does, whether it's Clapton or Metallica or myself or anything, all we're trying to do is just give you a glimpse of that moment. Because hey, today I can't go back to that moment. I can't go back to the moment when I was 21 and lost one of my best friends, and I was in a moment of complete murkiness and dark place. I can't right now. My mind isn't in that frequency, so I can't. But that's why I captured it at that moment, and that's why I think it's. Like you said, that's why I think the creative people and the moments that they do, it's because we talked about this before. It's the drive of what makes the creative person write it down is the need to. It's just outdo it. It's almost self-therapy. But like you said, the great thing about the other end is someone randomly at some point in the future or in the past or right now can listen to that and it affects them. And this is why I always say, man, there's not a week, and I can honestly say this, there's not a week goes past my life I don't listen to a New Season, New Life, and I'll literally, I don't give a shit, I'll cry, because it'll always remind me of just people that you don't even know, memories at times before you guys were born. But that's the power of music. That's the power of what we do, and that's what you were saying. It's tapping into that vulnerability, but that's why I think it's the creative people do it. And that's why I think those people do it, because ultimately, when you're at that moment, I'm sure, I don't know, maybe you can tell me, enlighten me more about how you were, but you do it because it's, what do you do at that moment? You either sit down and write something. Let's be real. I had the choice of either I sat down and wrote something and expressed myself, or I put a razor blade over my wrist and went, see ya. And I chose one path, and I've stuck to it, and it's been a discipline ever since. And I think that's why. Because that's reality. Everyone's going to face that moment at some point. Everyone has tragedy. Everyone has, as much as you think you're not, we're all going to have it. It's going to come and face every single one of us.
Without a doubt, mate. Yeah, it's like gang style, like rap outfit. We're quite big fans of, and quite take a lot of inspiration from. They have a tune which is very emotive called "Moment of Truth," and I think that's exactly what we're referring to there. It is that moment of truth, and it can be a creative moment, it can be a disastrous moment, it can be a life-changing moment.
It's raw, generally.
Yeah, raw, real, man.
Yeah.
But yet so powerful, because and what testifies to which reason so powerful. Why are you two going? This is the question I throw back to you. Why are you here? Why are you still carrying on with the team? That's how much power this has. Because if not, you could just be working at McDonald's and just being going, oh yeah, in my early 20s I was in a band, and just spending all the rest of your life going around the office and telling about how you used to be in a band. I mean, that the world is full of those people, dude. So it's that's what I'm saying. What drives it is just why you two are still carrying on. Why? I mean, why not just think, well, that's the heart of what we're talking about. You got a choice. No one's got a gun at your heads. No one's saying to you two, like, well, you must produce this. In fact, it's the other way around. You haven't got a record company saying to you must produce. You're the other way around. So that's what we're trying to illuminate. That realness is the drive that carries you three on. It's been the journey that we've you've been on for 3 years now.
It is, yeah, and there's been highs and lows in those times, So I guess it's just like we're saying, just using these moments, using these highs and lows, just thinking of wanting to fly the flag for others as much as yourself as well. But there's a lot, I guess, into it. I think it's just been such a blessing for us to be able to create music and put it out there, and for people to listen, and the support we've had over the time, and it's just looking back, it's been incredible, really. And we're just still flying that flag, and trying. Got new things out. Did the experimental EP with Jonathan Swift earlier this year, which we really love doing. A different direction, experimenting in new fields and new waters, and like this new single that we've just put out. again, it's something totally new, how the way we came about, how we created it and have done it. And yeah, man, like, just got to keep on slaying positive, as we say, Tim.
Absolutely. And yeah, just, you got to keep progressing. So you can't just stay the same. You can't just be writing about the same things or keep the same mindset as well. So, you've got to keep evolving and keep just trying to push yourself. And like Si touched on, musically with the band, releasing Belly of the Hopeless in May was a really refreshing experience for us, because one, we were working with John Swift, and he, like, just his sort of whole style of how he works, how he recorded that was very different to how we worked on our previous music. So that was like one thing which was a blessing, and then another thing, like, well, just trying to adapt to that as well. Like, so we'd record and then in a different way record a few vocals, and Mr. Swift would take it into the lab, totally rearrange it, and then the end product ended up being something completely different in a few of the occasions. So taking that to the next stage, like trying to do that, recreate that live, that was an interesting sort of experience. But all these sort of things are just good to just keep pushing yourself, and it's how we evolve, man, isn't it? It's how we walk on the moon. Every step, slay positive, just all these little motives and that, all these little phrases which sort of capture the mindset that we've tried to keep with this project.
Well, man, you mentioned this there, and I don't want to pass over that. You said it was an interesting experience trying to translate, Belly of the Beat, into Belly of the Hopeless into a live experience. Well, go on then, illuminate me more.
Okay. So first off, I guess our bands. I guess the way how we've gone about recording these tracks, and that Johnny's very much, there's a lot of bass. Some of the tracks are kind of erratic, strange sort of rhythms and time signatures and whatnot. So I guess for when we took it into a live environment, it's just getting to know the song. So you just got to keep going with it until you get into the flow of it and that. So we have our drummer Sam, who's been jamming with us for over a year now. He's become a big part of our sort of live sound, but when we can get the drums there. So there's some interesting drum rhythms on the tape. So yeah, working with him on them had been quite interesting.
Absolutely, and it's always like it's always quite good as well to when we do shows with the live band as well. And when we're practicing and working on songs, you get a different kind of a vibe from a track. So it's good. I like to try and keep it a little bit different from just on the record. You can listen to a record so often and it inside out, but when you go to a show, you want that to be a bit more of an individual experience. So it's nice to get different like songs but with different elements in it. So we bring guitar from Chris Shaw and drums from Sam Reed onto all the live tracks, and it immediately has a different sound to it, a little bit of a different vibe. And yeah, man, it's
a bit more of a live sort of sound as well.
Definitely. But
sorry, I was going to say, like, and also I guess it's the way we've gone about it for a lot of the project is we will get the tracks down to all the sort of studio work sometimes demos and that, and then that's down. I mean, that was the crack with Dual Sides, and that was the crack with the Ceiling of Demons EP. We did them all in the studio and that, and then we took them to a live environment. So you're for us as well, like the way that you'll I don't know, pronounce some words, or the flow might change a little bit, and you know it switches up a little bit. So we've kind of often worked like with Belly of the Hopeless in a similar sort of way. We got the music down first, so we had those sort of records, and then taking them to the live environment. I know like Johnny from Outside Your House and Tim, they tend to do it, but they'll get the demo down sort of thing, and then take it to the live thing, and let the live thing develop more until they finally take it back to the studio. And there's so many different ways you can go about doing things, man. Like it's you know, there's nothing set in stone.
No, not at all. But yeah, I mean, Belly the Hopeless doing some of the tracks live. It's just the sort of the timings and the kind of obscure production meant it was more challenging to get that locked into your head. And that's not just for us lyrically, because some of the songs are a bit more sparse lyrically than others, but also for the other band members and stuff. So it was a process of, you know, just practice makes perfect. I know it sounds cliche, but you got to I need these things into your head. Whereas a lot of the previous stuff on Dual Sides, on the Ceiling Demon EP, it was more kind of solid structures.
Yeah.
Whereas Belly was a bit more loose.
A bit more loose arrangements, and I guess it's just getting to know the arrangement kind of like the back of your hand.
But yeah, I mean, it's been good for us to have these experiences. I mean, we did record Belly the Hopeless last year, so to have got it out this year, you know, it took a bit of work to get it all right and get it out with Frux Tapes.
Go ahead and everything. Yeah.
And we tied it into playing Evo Emerging Festival in Newcastle, which was really blessed as well. And then, you know, it's good to just keep it fresh. So now we're bringing out, we've just dropped Lost Away as a standalone single, and that feels to me it harks back more to our usual kind of sound, similar to Lord I Must Be Strong Out, or like Every Step Is Moving Me Up.
Yeah, like a positive sort of feel uplifting sort of track.
Yeah,
but again, the way we kind of worked on this one,
different again.
was different once again, and you know, it's all kind of original arrangements, and yeah, it's something again that we're really proud to get out, and particularly for this for Lost Away. It's a split, but it's on vinyl, so we got some demons on wax, man.
Big up to Come Play With Me. That's another step though, isn't it? Like we made our own CDs for Dual Sides. We brought out Belly the Hopeless on cassette, and now we have something out on vinyl. And these are all big steps that, like we said before, you have to sort of step back and look at them in hindsight, and you know, like we're making good achievements, and you have to be grateful for that, but you also have to, you know, give yourself a pat on the back.
Yeah, I mean, again, while we're here, I mean, when you're going out, particularly in the playing live Billy the Hopeless, you just quite eruditely sort of speaking of on how, you know, that sort of, you know, you've got to get used to new arrangements and stuff. When you're playing those gigs, how do you go around the process of working out what songs from previous, like Dual Sides or the Ceiling Demons EP, what to put into that kind of mix? Because do you know what I mean? I mean, I think it's something you both alluded upon. Then you have got such a wide range of styles, so trying to form a set list for the Seeing Demons would be a much more difficult process than it would have been for maybe, you know, back in for many bands, because it's like, oh well, we're all rock, or they're all just, you know, acoustic jobs. But you got such a, that must be a process in itself, trying to just arrange the you know, what tracks you're going to be playing live.
Yeah, absolutely, Tim.
Man, it just gets harder as well, mate. It just gets harder as well.
It's an elimination process often. Like, depends how long we've got to play. But you know, if we're bringing something out, or we've just brought something out, we tend to try and prioritize the new stuff. So when we did Evolution Emerging in Newcastle, that was the day that we dropped Belly of the Hopeless. So we made an effort to try and incorporate as many songs from that release into the set as possible. I think we did 4 in the end. So you kind of prioritize with what your latest releases and what your upcoming releases. Like, when we did Leeds Brooding Out last Thursday, to launch the 7-inch single, and you know that we made that track a priority. So we didn't do it last song in our set, but we did it towards the end with a bit more emphasis. But I think it's always healthy to get a nice sort of flow and a nice balance. Like, you don't want to just be playing upbeat song after upbeat song after upbeat song. It's good to sort of stretch the set and pull it in different directions. So, you know, start with something maybe dark and then go upbeat, and then something a bit more slow or something a bit more moody. And you know, it's a ride. It's a ride, and it's a palette to paint. And it's a fun process, but it can take time to craft the right set list sometimes.
It's fun in a way, man. It's like a puzzle, you know, trying to like figure out the right ones. And I guess we have ones that we like prefer, or maybe that we just tend to play a lot more. Like, maybe there's ones that like Sam on the drums like really loves playing Follow the Compass, for example. So if we think that might fit into the set, or it seems like this will work here, then yeah, I mean, we're up for it. And again, like that song, just to touch on what we were saying before, you know, an old sort of tune off dual sides, and just bringing Sam into the mix in the last like year with him playing it, it's breathed a whole new life into the track for me. Like, yeah. I prefer playing it now with Sam. Like, if for whatever reason we don't have Sam on the night, I'm not necessarily going to pick to play it, but because of the element he brings to it, and so I guess all the songs are kind of have that sort of thing in a way. But I mean, we'll try and do. Generally, we'll do maybe something off the Demons EP, the first Demons EP. We'll do a few of dual sides, and then, you know, been doing a lot of Compass stuff, and belly stuff, and then obviously we dropped Even If, which we've been playing a hell of a lot as well, and this new track, and you know, a couple of ones that aren't released as well. So mix it up.
Well, as I mentioned this to you many times before, man, there's gonna come a point where you're gonna have that annoying person in the crowd that's gonna go, "Lord be strong, play Lord be strong," is all the way through the gig. That's gonna happen. But again, I mean, the other thing as well, and I mean, sort of plays into what we maybe sort of theme of this conversation is that you've got so many tracks. I mean, there's so many Demons tracks that I'm sure you play, but I know of so many tracks that I've heard, and I think, God, man, you can make 4 or 5 albums with just what I've heard. And, you know, I mean, there's tracks like one of the things, Illusions is a perfect example. You know, that's a perfect example that you know if you ever bang that out, it goes really well in certain venues. So this is what I'm saying. That's what I'm trying to relate to, because it's that whole. I suppose you must have to almost form and your set list to the environment, the day, the time, and everything, because there's obviously some songs you can't do when you're playing Down the Rabbit Hole with just a tent and just you two and a mask that you couldn't play if you're playing a full stage with drum kits and stuff. So you know, I suppose that all plays into it. And you know, again, I mean, you kind of alluded to it. I'll kind of really just get to the raw of it. I mean, obviously, you two must decide on the set list. I mean, is this one of the few areas of life where you two have some friction upon the twin? Can I find a split between the twins over a set list?
we're quite open and easy to it to create to get it down. Like we're quite you know, we're open to all try this here. But I guess we kind of have songs. Sometimes there might be one that we want to play, but for what someone might, you know, want to pick another song ahead of that. So I guess there's a bit of that now and then, but there's not a lot of friction in getting the set list down. To be honest, I mean, like you say, we've got quite a lot of tracks that we can play. So I mean, we've been doing a lot of like sets that we have been doing have been really between half an hour and 45 minutes this year. I mean, we do often like an hour one for the Kamapalooza.
I quite like doing shorter sets. Like I just find that like you can it's more, you can make more of an impact to an audience, and you can be a bit more explosive in a short period of time than you can when you're doing longer sets.
You have to space things out a bit more,
but when you are doing longer sets, then crafting the set list can be more sort of important, I think, because you have that longer period to take an audience on a journey. So you think about what sort of, so rather than just doing one slow one, maybe you'll take it down, do a couple of slow ones on the bounce, and then hit it with something more upbeat or whatever. But yeah, it's always a fun process picking the set list, and I don't think we have too many disagreements. Like,
well, one of the other things as well, and I found this a common one with, you know, around people, especially musicians and bands, is that there almost be and again, I think it's one of the kind of like behind the curtain stage sort of things that people who are an audience don't realise that, you know, and I've spoken to bands who, you know, done quite big tours and stuff like that, and there's tracks that the audience will love, and they can't stand them, you know, but they know they have to go out and play them. Like they just get sick of playing the same track every night. And then conversely, on the other side, you know, if you ask them, they're like, oh yeah, I'd love one that was maybe, you know, track 7 on album 1 and stuff like that. So this, you know, I'll throw this over to you two. Do you think there's a track that particularly that you guys, you know, kind of like really kind of would want to play, but you sort of feel I don't think the audience would be into that kind of stuff? Because I know for instance, there's a certain track I love that I know certain member of your band doesn't like playing live at all, but I just sort of feel like that's my position every time I come to a gig. To almost demand that, man.
Yeah, well, like that's a funny one. That's the first sort of thing that comes to my mind, I guess. Is and maybe that kind of, oh, I can't do that sort of things, just makes you want to do it more. But yeah, I mean, that example of, you know, when George went away, Beat Demon for a bit, and we, you know, we started playing Mirror's Image for the first time, like live and that. You know, and it's just quite an interesting thing, and I guess necessary. I felt like it's part of the project, and I kind of enjoyed it. But yeah, this really kind of intense, and that I guess one for me on this new record that we've only played live once, also on the new EP on Belly the Hopeless, is one called Will Love Return, and I guess it's because it's more of a sung one. The tempo's really kind of I can't think of the right words. It's just kind of, you kind of get a bit disorientated by the whole flow and off it, and that's so unsettling. And unsettling. So I mean, I'd imagine just a change of tone that drastically. There's some audiences, and it depends where you're playing the show, that I think that would go down well. You know, if we were playing a more of a full-on just hip-hop boom bap sort of night, like that would fucking sink like the Titanic, you know what I mean? So it depends kind of who you're playing to, I think. But yeah, I mean, I don't know if there's any tracks like that for you, bro.
No, but the next gig that we do play, Tim, just let us know. We will put a new season, a new life into the set list. Like,
Well, I mean, the thing is, it sort of relates back to what I was saying before. I mean, some of my favourite Demons tracks are the ones that I don't know if any of the public have ever heard. I mean,
Well,
dude, I mean, it kind of
unrelated.
it kind of relates to really my sort of like next sort of question. I really want to sort of like sort of kind of dwell on with you while I got you two here is what is your whereabouts on the process are you down towards the next album? Because I say this because it relates to what we were just saying. I mean, you sent me some tracks a while back, and I was like, wow, you could put that album out right now, in my own personal opinion, as it stood. Now, I understand from your position that by the time that probably does get dropped, there'll probably be nothing on it that was on that album, which relates to what you're just saying then, Dad, because some of my favourite tunes maybe are never going to get played in any venue at all with the Demons. So how far, I mean, what stage of the process are you with the new album?
Well, so we were working on it's kind of like a follow up to Dual Sides. So it's a full length release, and it's earlier this year. I believe in kind of February time. That's when we got into the studio. This LP's been in the works a lot longer than that, but we got into the studio in February, and we got a lot of work done vocally. Got some guitars down, got some drums down. So a lot of the recording work has been done, and of mixing and mastering and things like that has been in the process since then. But because we've had releases of Belly of the Hopeless, which came out in May, and now Lost Away, which came out last Thursday, we have been taking a bit of a back seat with that, just to prioritise these current releases. But I was actually listening to the demos for it today, and I think we've got a little bit more work to do. We want to get all the pieces of the puzzle placed, so we know what we're looking at a lot more clearly before we start getting the ball rolling and getting music out with it. But there's definitely another album in the works. When it will drop, I can't say for sure, but I know that you've heard it, and yeah, man, like it's something that we really we're dying to sort of get out there, you know.
Yeah, it's kind of frustrating that it takes this long, but it fucking does, unfortunately.
Juggling life and work and doing music, it just, these things do take a lot longer than you kind of want.
Hopefully, I mean, something might come out before the end of the year, like a taster. But hopefully, we're hoping to get everything tied up and have it out into the new year, which we're excited about, because, like Dan says, we've been working on this record for, it seems like, a number of years now, and you know, we've had many kind of variations of it, but it's constantly being evolving. So just the body of work that we've got, yeah, we're excited to get that out really as soon as we can, and get it out into the world and off our chests, man, so we can start pursuing other albums and avenues, and yeah, man. And so yeah.
But I mean, that what you just spoke upon then is a very common thread or common area that many creative people do, man. Because it's that whole process now, and I'm in it. Whether you're building an album, whether you're building a piece of artwork, whether you're baking a cake, whether it's coding a whole new platform, whatever it is, there's a point of like where you almost see it in your head, you can formulate it, and it's just then the first bit is putting all the bits together, and then it's getting to that point of like, when do I stop? At what point do I stop? At what point do I push it onwards? Because it's a real tight line you walk across, because you think one extra note, one extra vocal could ruin it, one little bit could push it over the edge, but if I don't leave it out, it's not how I see it in my head as a creative person. So it's that I understand completely, and all the time you're walking this balance line, you've got people like going, where is it, what's going on, and you're like, whoa, I'm walking a tightrope here, people. Do you not realize that the rope I'm walking on as a creative person? So yeah, it's all and I think it's the same goes through any creative process. But so yeah, but it's that walking along the line of doing it, because I'm sure that, for instance, I mean, related this to what you're just saying about your next album, I'm sure I'm more than expecting when this thing drops, it'll be completely different to what I've been given, but at the essence it'll still be there. Same as like I could give you a sketch and then give you a painting. You're like, oh, okay, I get the idea. So it's all. But this is the great. I think for anyone that's once we talked about the darkness of what drives a creative person, this is the pleasure of it, man. This is the great thing. I mean, it's just as much as we've got the darkness and the drives inside, one of the pleasures of doing it is creating and having that thing that you're like, oh man, 7 hours have just gone, and I've just been lost in this void of creativity. That's the pleasurable thing, and it's the most highly addictive thing in the world, I think, because when you're in it, you're like, whoa, where did time go? Where did everything else go? So yeah, dude, I can say to you jump in and enjoy that pleasure as much as possible, man, because it's that's what we do it for. It's the pleasure of being creative.
Definitely, mate. Yeah, man. Like. And that's it. Like, I think you're right. Like you can just want to change just a little bits here and there sometimes. And yeah, you do. Sometimes it's good just to like take a step back from it all and give it like a few weeks or a month or something.
Then revisit it.
Yeah, and then revisit it, just refreshed from that like period of time. You know what I mean? There's all sorts of things that have happened during then, and something that you've created might come across in a totally different way than what you saw it, than like when you did first create it. You know what I mean? So it's something like I've discussed, a few people, I'm sure with you and Rustin and that before, how the songs and things are, it's constantly evolving, it's constantly changing and constantly meaning new things to people. I guess it's what we've kind of touched on before. It's how a song that's 40 years old still hits that chord with someone who's fucking 15 that's heard that for the first time, and that's creating something in them, and that's living, man. That's timeless. It's ageless, man. So like, yeah, man. It is. Sometimes you need that kind of a bit. Put it down, sleep on it, and see it in some new eyes, man, and reflect on it.
But yeah, and also you've just got to be like, I know as artists you can be your own worst critic, but I think it's also important that you try to be as happy with a piece of art or a release or whatever it is you're doing, you be happy with it in yourself with it as much as possible, because at the end of the day, going back to what we were saying earlier about that kind of vulnerability and things, if you're putting something out there, you're spilling your heart out there, you have to be content with that and
cool with it. Yeah,
that one.
No, I was just going to say, I mean, this isn't only just a creative, an exclusive thing to creativity. I mean, this is that what you just said then about, put it down, leave it alone and come back to it. I mean, that relates to everything else. I mean, it goes right back to something you said in the conversation. I mean, how much the populace around where you live and where I live, like you say, even football, but tonight, what, I don't know, if I look on your face, Dan, it doesn't look it was a good night for you, dude, but but that's the point. So many people will be out tonight and they'll be drowning their sorrows, and you think, if they are drowning their sorrows, that's all part, it's all part of this human experience. You're feeding something. We're not machines. We don't just walk away and go, but the point is, it's just to, like you say, understand that it's just an experience, and you wake up the next day and it's like, okay, it's just a game, it's just and that's ultimately, whether it's football, whether it's actors, as we were saying beforehand, or they're all distractions. The greatest thing we've got is that we can wake up tomorrow morning, if we do, and we can look around. That's the rest of it. I mean, that's the core of what all this is about. the whole of this conversation, everything we've been discussing, is all breaks down to the point of like, we've got the ability and we recognize it that the greatest experience we have is this human experience, the day-to-day living. And that's, you know, but equally, as I say, we're all caught up in it, man. We're all caught up in the, and I think it's good as well, because I think it is all part of the human experience. You know, it is part of the human experience tonight that, for instance, you could go, like I say, you know, half a town, you know, I could have walked into Leeds, you know, last night and there'd be half of them be, you know, absolutely gutted because they lost. And that's great. I'd rather live in that world where that there's that unit, like you said, where people connecting, where you don't live in that world and it's like, oh, and everyone's just walking around like some automaton and we don't ever look at each other. And that's a lot of the forces that go on in this world right now. So I think, like you say, I think these are lessons that are not only just for the creative people. I think just a general human experience is what I think you really tap into. Which is what I love about particularly what you guys, and I said this from day one when I met you, is that we were speaking upon it earlier, you've been real. And once you give that real experience around, you're like, yeah, good. They're not trying to fool me. They're not trying to shift and snake me, because it's like, dude, we've got enough crap in this life without people trying to, you know, not be real to me. And I think because that's what you need. You don't want someone going, you know, like you say, well, let's take tonight. You know what someone, you know, if I was walking around Newcastle, say they've lost a football match, you don't want someone goes through and going, oh well, you know. No, you go like, dude, I understand the crap, and you know that, but don't get obsessed by it. Don't go and you know, because where that leads to is all the things that I'm saying. This is all the discipline of life, because you take that mentality of taking your frustration out in the moment. And the next thing you know, you're marching over the hill to go and batter somebody to death because they don't, you know, and that's why it's important too. And I think it's one of the themes what we're talking about. At times, like you said there, very, very eruditely, was take the moment. And maybe at times it's just taking the moment. But when you do take the moment, it's what we kind of think, what we were discussing. When you are in that moment, you do take the moment out. It's almost like you want to write or you want to create, and then go with that, rather than just going, oh, fuck it, and smacking somebody. And that's what I love about music. That's what I love about it all, because that's the choice, dude. I mean, I could easily be talking to you two, and you two could have been like, fuck it, and you could have been like the two bad boys kicking off in Richmond every night. And that's what I love about you doing. But you don't. You've channeled it in a truly positive way, and that isn't all about ain't life great and it's some hippie dream, and no, that's bollocks, man. You're just being real, and that is so powerful. And because it taps into what I'm saying, not just the creative artist experience, you're opening up and saying, hey, I'm being a human being. And whether you're a Leeds United fan, a Newcastle fan, a Boca Juniors fan, an LA Raiders fan, whether you support whatever it is, anyone can understand that whole thing. And that's where eventually, this is where I do sort of see, and I look back when I was contemplating the view of this for the demons, man. Just to think about the amount of human beings that your music, that you know face to face when you've done gigs, how many people have listened to it, how many people that's sunk into, let alone how many people that you're never going to meet, that haven't listened to your stuff. I think just think the power of that, man. That if you hadn't have done that, none of that would have been possible. And just if one person gets affected and it hits one resonance of one human being and it stops them going down the dark track, that's a victory. And then you multiply that and how many times, and you think, wow, this is really an immense thing that we're doing. That all the times you are up on the stage at night, you're not just sitting at home watching X Factor. It's a very powerful thing because you're touching the human being.
That's man, it's. Yeah, it's crazy to think about sometimes, we just did we did like the Brudenell last Thursday, as Stan mentioned before, and it kind of like brings back memories to like when we first met you, which was at the Brudenell, man.
Yeah. And the last gig Paul saw us to was actually at the Brudenell as well, like last time we did it. So
yeah, man, it's kind of, I guess it's quite a special place and
sacred place
in our kind of the story of our band. And man, to touch these people and if people do feel it and that, then super blessed, like yourself, man, like as did Paul. But as we touched on, like it's not always you can't expect that it's going to save people. It's essentially just as music, but if it makes people think and it makes people feel, that's something that I think it means the world to us.
Yeah, completely. I mean, I think that's you hit the nail right on the head. I mean, your role and my role and any of our roles as creative people isn't to go out and reform anyone else or change their lives. That's not what we're doing it for. What we spent this whole conversation about. All I do, and I'll be completely true, when I do, paint or write or anything I do, I'm just in one moment and I'm expressing myself. I don't want to go out and think, oh, is this going to save somebody? That's not the point. But what I do know, and this is the other side of this, the dual side of this, that very point is that these, which is what I love about it, it's this human existence we got. We can put things out through these voice boxes we have. We can put marks onto paper. We can do things that another human being in another part of the world, maybe have no experience, no culture, nothing to do with it, might not speak the language, can pick up on that, and I've seen this. Argentina was a perfect example. They couldn't understand the words, but they understood the sense. Then they would listen to it, and it's great. Open up seeds, you open up doors, and before you know it, they've got some words of English. But that's what I'm saying. It's amazing. It's fascinating to me that we have these ability just through waves of sound or bits of lines on paper or to touch someone else. And that's what I'm saying. You're right saying that. You're not going out there to reform anybody else, but you're thinking, wow, it's a powerful thing I've got. And it's one of the things I don't think maybe at times that we, particularly creative people, or as human beings, we're like, look at the power we've got. We can put something, and despite some, I can be X amount of miles away, listen to it, I'm hearing vibrations, and that touches my heart, my essence of what it means to be a human being, and that to me is. It's one of those things. What I said earlier on, we go take a step out, look at the skies, and just it's not one of those ones of like how we take all this for granted, that we have this ability to do this stuff, and the power that this has, and it's amazing when we never take the step back to realize what we're doing. And as you said, you don't sit there and do I'm trying to reform everybody else. That stuff isn't real. The real moment is, and when you put that out, and that's because you're just trying to, okay, it saved me in that moment. It got me through that moment, or as we were saying, it was a pleasurable moment, or whatever it was. But it's one of those essences, one of those great things that we just, I think, because we're so fortunate to live in the part of the world we are, where we can have this conversation at this time of night in warmth, in comfort, and all this kind of thing. We forget how fortunate and equally the power that we've got. This stuff is so fascinating that we got this. We've got the ability to communicate in all these different ways, and that's what I'm trying to say. And I think that's what you were trying to you were pointing out there when you were saying that we're doing it for the. Because we can, and it's an immense thing, and it's an immense thing that we've got this ability, and I think the other side of that equally again, and we always have to bear in mind, is that we've got this ability, and this is one of the things I think it relates to going back to what you were saying earlier on, Dan, about death and stuff, is that, man, there's so many people on this planet who they've witnessed death, they've experienced it, and probably more on a visceral level than a day-to-day level that but they don't have the ability to sit at home, write an album, and put that out. But can you imagine if they did? They feel the same pain. That's what I'm trying to say. They feel the same shit. And that's why they look to people like who have got the ability, the freedom, and the tools to go, can you please express some of this shit? Because I haven't got the fucking time and ability. I know that crap, man. When you mix with somebody who's walking 10 miles to get some clean water every day, and they're dealing with malaria and fevers and stuff, they look to people like us who in the Western world and go, okay, if I had those tools, I wouldn't be sitting around wasting my time. I would be putting out and expressing what it's like. And this is what I'm trying to say. It's the responsibility, the discipline of being of us the creative, but equally, it's like you say, it's the power we've got, and I think it's so important that we realize that how fortunate we are that we've got the ability to express these through these tools. Like you're saying there, you're saying there, it's because you can, because someone and we're all always have to bear this in mind, that we've got the ability to, and there's people on this planet right now, in this moment right now, who would literally cut their right arm off to have this conversation and have the freedom we've got. And that, to me, is always got to be, to me, always been, that's been my, I was saying earlier on that the rope I walk down, before you fall off as a creative, but that's it. I'm always kind of like, I can't afford to be lazy. I know there's people right now walking 10 miles for water. I can't afford to be, anything else. That's the thing that pushes me. It's like I said before, because there's people on this planet right now in this moment who haven't got the ability, and that's why we do what we do, not to reform anyone else or change anyone else.
Yeah, definitely, mate. I'd agree with that. 100%. Now, I was going to mention as well there, Tim, I really enjoyed the podcast with David Irvine the week as well, man.
Well, yeah, good, man. I mean, what's fascinating about that I found with the conversation with David was the fact of again, it almost relates to what we we're just saying then. It doesn't matter whether you're building a completely whole new platform, the same processes, the same things come up over and over and over again. And that's why I'm trying to say, when I think creativity really needs to be broadened out and not just made into you're a musician, you're an artist, you're no, creativity is that element of doing, like you said, whether it's David Irwin who sits and does what he does, it's the same thing, and it's the same challenges and the same. That's why I think these conversations are really relevant, and we can all learn from hearing other people's conversations. Like, how did they tackle that? Because that's what it's all about. Because with a true open mindset, which is what I love about what you speak upon a lot in your lyrics, is basically going, oh, actually, I don't know anything, and how can I learn from somebody else? And that, compared to the mindset of, no, I know it all, I've got it all, I'm super ego, I know all the answers, is a really, that's the key. And I think I've always said this about you guys, and I don't mean to say this in any patronizing sense at all, but the fact that you're in your 20s and you can see that, and you've got that wisdom, it's so powerful, because you see, not only guys your age, but that the lesson of what I've just said is one that comes through life. Because as you get through life, you learn a lot more, and you go, oh, okay, right, now I understand. But to have that at your age, that's why I've always said it's a very powerful thing you're playing upon, and you've got your hands upon that rudder. Because, as I said before, you could just be two elderly guys, and instead of talking to me tonight, you could be sitting out there going down the pub and getting pissed and causing a few fights. And that's the power of what we do. It's what you're saying at the very beginning, Dan. It's this is the seeds we sow, why we do what we do. And that's why I always say it's always it's worth encouraging people that inspire you. And that's why I try to do like Life is People, and that's why I always say to you guys, because you do not know the power of what you're doing, because you won't. I know for a fact your tracks have affected people that you're never going to meet. I know that, like, for instance, David Owen, what he's going to build, it's going to affect people all around the world that he's never going to meet. And that's the essence of doing what we're doing. That's why I think it's always, and I think it's one of the things that again, it sort of ties the theme of this whole conversation. That's why it's all about unity. And one of the things that I think we've got to do, and I think you've really, as the Demons, have been a real shining example of this, as of this whole mindset of like, let's not all pull each other down. Let's try to unify and collaborate and be real with each other. And that is such a powerful statement that, I don't know, let's be real about this, I think is more and more needed in 2016 than maybe it was 2 years ago when we first had this conversation, because the world is just being split right now amongst divisions, and anything that can unify human beings into understanding the preciousness of this experience they've got as an individual human being is called for. I think it's more important now than it was 2 years ago, which is in some ways is quite a sad state of affairs, really.
Yeah, definitely. I'd agree with that. constantly everything like in this day and age, it just sit out today. It just seems like everything's kind of generated, particularly like in the media, things like that. You know, everything's always defied. You know, I don't like getting into politics and that sort of thing. Like, but you know, you can see things in that world, and likewise, media does it, and look at sport, even music to a certain degree. You know, your X Factors or whatever will divide opinion. Will make this person this sort of crowd favourite, this person this whatever. Act out a whole little pantomime that everyone gets fucking swept up in, and yeah, man, I think there's nothing. There's nothing real in these kind of worlds, and like that's why you need to look elsewhere to get your fix of truth, in a sense. And yeah, I guess we just speak from you just speak from the heart, man, or speak from the soul. And yeah, man, it's not I don't mean there's a lot of soul food out there, and that's why unity is very important, because I think that unifying feeds or cleanses the soul.
Yeah, and I mean, I think it's one of the things that it's one of the things that almost it's a kind of state of affairs, particularly in this part of the world we live in. That 20 years ago, it was a lot easier to go out and do gigs and venues and stuff like this to sort of because I thought this the other day. I mean, man, there's always, to me, I always put them on a high pedestal. Anybody that's prepared to go out and play, a venue on a Wednesday night or a Thursday night in middle of November, to me, that's great. I mean, that to me, I like, well played. That's fantastic. That's one of the highest pinnacles of life. But now it's so difficult. I mean, these venues. I mean, this is the thing we're living in. This is the whole point. What you just saying. This media world we live in. That the small venues are getting harder and harder to play. Live music is getting harder and harder to play. And the things that we're saying, the power of what it is, and like just quite eruditely spoken upon there, Dan. The reason that it's needed. It's all been swept away. I mean, I've often used Lee's example. 20 years ago when I was playing in a band there was the Duchess, there was venues all over the place. Now you walk around that and the Duchess is a Louis Vuitton store, and that's now a coffee shop, and you're like, whoa, the things that are there to connect us in that moment as human beings. That's what I love about music. In a gig, you're in the moment, in that, with other human beings sharing that moment. And those things are becoming harder and harder to do. You would know more than that than me. I mean, I haven't done a live gig in 20 years, but you must know now what it is. And it's that real. Like I say, in some ways, it's a sad state of affairs, because there is I'm very much aware of it. I'm sure you're from both ends of your everything you do in your life, that there's a real urge. People have a real hunger for stuff that's hand produced, handmade, real, anything that's actually got a bit of soul in it, for want of a better word. But then to go out and sell these products, or to go and, like you say, to go and do a live venue for the Demons, it's becoming smaller and smaller and smaller, because we've been lost in this corporate world of coffee shops and Louis Vuitton stores, and I think it's a real crying shame. And I'd love to hear your thoughts on this, because you are going out there. And for want of a better word, you're out there, hands on the face of the coal pit. You're playing live gigs and stuff. I mean, for the last sort of, this is as a signpost. Since we had this conversation 2 years ago, how have you found the live scene? I mean, do you find it's easier to get gigs, harder to get gigs? I mean, where do you sort of put it on? Here we are 2 years on. I mean, what would you, from someone who's on the face pit of things, how would you say that the whole scene in the UK is right now?
I think it's definitely about the people. It's always about the people. It's not what you know, it's who you know, isn't it? So in terms of gigging,
I think the root of all what you've just kind of said in that, I think, is the the sort of nutrients and that are always going to be in the underground, you know, the seed and the good things are always going to be in that underground sort of thing, man. Like, you know, on the flip, when you talk about venues and that, I mean, it's quite been quite big sort of news in that recently about Fabric in London closing down, which is, you know, a massive,
one of the capitals of UK club culture, or dance, dance with electronic music.
And you know, that's quite a big one to lose. But there's been a lot of venues, you know, dropping over the last few years and that. So again, like, I just see sort of DIY scenes. I mean, we've since we did Evolution, we've kind of been playing in Newcastle quite a bit over the last few months and that, and it's been quite interesting seeing the sort of scenes there, because we did a gig with like a lot of Northeast hip hop artists, and seeing that's like the scene there. But also last a couple of weeks ago, we did more of a DIY alternative sort of night, and seeing that scene there, and you know, a lot of the people that came down, or quite a few of them were bands and artists themselves. Like, there was Tom from the Run in Chelsea, who I know you've had on the podcast in the past. He was there. There was quite a few people from bands. So I think it's and I see the similar sort of things in Durham with what Frux are doing. Like, they're really kind of, there are these thriving DIY sort of scenes, you know, which are very much, you know, done themselves, and it's through that connection and love of music and arts, and, you know, the fact that it's a pipe dream that someone's gonna pluck you out of this fucking meadow of fucking flowers and, you know, sort you out. You have to do that yourself. You have to build those contacts, play those shows, and yeah, I mean, I think it's you see venues come, like, pop up and that. Obviously ones with quite a lot of like history. I think it's just hard times generally, but I think live music and DIY music, and, you know, people making their own cassette tapes and all this stuff and that, like, I think it's very much valuable, and just with it being like the sort of scenes being more DIY, it just it shows the sort of the love that people need to have for a scene to thrive to begin with. Like, you big sort of, I guess, corporates or majors or whatnot, maybe they're nowhere near the numbers that they once were, and therefore their power is not as it once was, you know. So that it's kind of blessed because it's more power to the people. But in terms of like getting your music out there, oh, there's a dog. It's yeah, I don't know, man. It's interesting times. There's Bonnie.
No, I think, you know, where we are right now, you know, in September, you know, late September 2016, it's, you know, again, sort of, you know, maybe sort of around the theme of what this whole conversation is about. I mean, yeah, I remember, you know, I think we're kind of on an edge, on a precipice of where humanity itself could go, and this, you know, to sort of put this down to music. I mean, yeah, right now it's like we were saying earlier on, you know, you can almost sort of like, it doesn't take too much to do a bit of research and go, okay, there is a new world there. You know, there are early formings of things and stuff like this. But one of the things that I think relates to all people who are putting out content, whether it's, you know, any form of content, is it's the key is about making things where it's almost intrinsically easy to use. You know, it's like, and I relate this to say, you know, go back to what you're saying about, you know, when I was having a conversation with David Irwin, you know, I mean, the internet 20 years ago, it was like, you know, maybe half an hour to sort of send an email. You had to go and write, and it was just an email. And then along came easier and easier and easier. And that's the same with everything else. Like you're saying about the DIY of things like this. These are great. These are great. You can see the early tools. And I know that cassettes work, and I know that vinyls work. It's just right now, and I think this, I don't know. I think we're getting very, very, very close to where these things are going to merge. And all the things that we've been discussing for 2 years and stuff like that are just going to sink in. But from the side of the technology and stuff like that, where it's going to really, that moment it comes from just being like it is right now, just a very few early adopters who are talking about the reason. The minute it breaks into the mass conscious is when it becomes easy. You know, when those tools are easy to use, because right now, I mean, it's one of the things. I mean, we can sit there in private, as we have done, and talk about Bitcoins and, you know, this seeds and maids and all that, and cryptocurrencies and stuff like that. But I guarantee you go out to a band and you talk to, you know, the bands around you, and they've never heard this yet, and rightly they shouldn't have heard that crap, because it's too complicated for them. When we're going to really see the big changes in not just music but everything is when those steps aren't difficult. When it is, when driving a car isn't learning some 16 gear, you know, steering wheel that, you know, nobody knows, and some guy's walking in front of you, and it's just a case of just getting in and just turning on and going. And we're getting very, very close to that. And I think it's, I always say these are the greatest days, and I only say that because we're going to be looking back in 10, 15 years time and not realize how fortunate we were to live in these days right now, where we had the ability to see all this birth and this give rise. Because you know, it's going to be interesting maybe 10 years down the line, 20 years down the line, if people ever listen to this conversation, they'll be like, what were they talking about? What was all that about? You know, and that's how I really do think things will shift and happen. But that's not going to happen, like you said, with the DIY. It doesn't need to be a DIY cassette. It needs to be that's just another option. Instead of like you said, Si, we're trying to do to get plucked up by some guy from on high. No, it should just be that's another option. As much as I could do and put them all out on cassette, I could put it all out. Just another option. That's all we want, and it's leveling out that flat floor. And instead, you know, that is happening really, really an exponential rate. And I'm just fascinated. And I think it's really, really. I don't know. It's going to be an absolutely fascinating moment in the moment of mankind when we do see this you give birth. And I'm fortunate enough. I'm old enough to remember a world before internet. You know what I mean? And to think what's going to come, where what the internet has done to us, and what's about to merge. It's going to change everything, and that's why I keep trying to say, I think that's just why I love about these kind of conversations, because it's trying to illuminate the whole process of what it's like to be creative, because those days are coming very soon, you know, with AI and the automation of jobs, where all we're going to be left with is a human species and an individual who's looking and going, how can I be creative? What can I do on this rock? And that's why I think it's important that we need to illuminate these conversations, have these conversations, you know, be creative, but go out. And that's what I love about it. That's what I love about you guys going out there and playing venues and gigs in the middle of November and stuff like that, and mixing with other people, because it's as I say, creation inspires creation, and that's the greatest thing ever, because it's, as I said before, it's by doing this you cause this whole organic growth. And then look at it, dude. That's what I was saying before. Look how much has happened in 2 years. I look back at it, and I see, maybe because of the venue I am in this country, I look back and think, oh man, maybe you don't realize what's bubbling on, what's going on at the moment, but man, it's about to explode. And that's not just because you've been at the right time in the right place. It's because you put balls and time of effort and hard work and sweat and graft, and that, like everything else in life, will eventually pay off. And it's, I think, all the small little people, all the musicians, or like you say, whether it's your Tom, you know, doing it, whether it's outside your house, whether it's Ryan, whether it's Mikey Guru, whether it's, you know, Michael Mullins down in Argentina, you're all doing the same thing, and it's just eventually the moment is going to happen. And I just, it's just going to be great that we're going to, maybe because of the age we are and where we are, we're going to not only part of it, we're going to get to witness this, and it's going to be such an amazing time in the human civilization, because we've never had this before, never. That's what I'm saying. These are the greatest days. We've never had this, and if that's what I'm saying, if we can shape it, and which we've got. That's what I'm saying. It's the first time ever, man. We've got the ability that me, you, and this can have this conversation. 20 years ago, I know what it's like, dude. 20 years ago, I'll give you an experience. When I was in a band, you had to sort of like kiss that many asses just to get an interview in a local rag. You had to go through so much, and I mean, not only just kissing arsing, but, literally time spent. You have to go to some stupid party, kiss up the person, get to know all their friends. And then hopefully after 6 months of doing this, all that, you get to have one little paragraph in an enemy or a melody maker, and it's like, it's ridiculous. It's absolutely ridiculous, and that's what I love about right now, because all this is being stripped away, and I say, it's the most, and you're in it, right?
Man, yeah, it's all going like such a, it's so fast and that, I remember just like, I don't know, trying to download like a video or a song, on dial-up sort of internet, and how long that would take, maybe like, half a day to get a fucking video or something like that. And now you look at something like a Netflix or whatnot, and how you can, on YouTube, and how you can just like choose these things just straight away, and like in that space of time, that's so vastly advanced, and it's advancing more and more every single day. And I think you're quite right, Tim. Very exciting times indeed, and I guess in the life of our band, we've seen things change, and streaming become so much more of a viable sort of, or not viable, much more widely used, and also like vinyl has increased in people, like the sales of vinyl has increased over the last few years, and there's some very interesting sort of changes and things always happening, man. So yeah, I mean, I guess you can't say for sure what the future holds, and whether or not you'll be in that right place at the right time. So you just have to ride those waves, man. I'm sure the artists that maybe inspired us, who were on MySpace back in the day, never kind of foresaw how it was mapping out. And the same with like I guess like the MTV sort of generation, how that was so influential at that time, and now the vast array of like videos that are at your disposal. It's a funny one, I guess. Like that element of choice comes down to it quite a lot, and I guess that's it in general. Is you don't need to be told, what to listen to, what to like, and all this shit. There's an ocean of shit out there, so find what resonates with you.
Yeah, I mean, 2 points on what you just spoken about there. One, and this is just a statement of fact, nothing more. I mean, I don't think there's probably more than a handful of bands in the world that are kind of flown the flag like you have and know anything about what we talk. I mean, man, literally, there's less than a handful of bands in the world that know about what Made Safe and have flown the flag for that and talked about Bitcoin. Then you get to a kind of maybe a bit more bigger pool that bands who know about Bitcoin. But again, you're way up on the top of these mountains, dude. You're in the rarefied air, or the other way around. You're out in the deep, dark, murky waters, man. There's not many people around there, but eventually that's where everything's going to go, and this is what I find fascinating. It's just the shift is going to be. And I think one of the things that I've been particularly sort of fortunate to have many conversations and that many rabbit holes over the last 2 years, and one of the glimpses I've seen, and I think this is going to be an absolute, literally before and after moment, and I relate this to, for instance, like, I go back to when I was in a band back in the day. You know, just having your back in the day, have your outreach to go outside your city was a big thing. You know, and you know now, okay, fair enough. You know, you can outreach to Ryan or to Australia and stuff like that. But one of the glimpses I've seen, and I think it's going to be, I'm fascinated to see how this pans out. It goes from not the ability just to speak to each other and have these kind of conversations, but what the power of the decentralized new world paradigm opening up offers is the ability to create in real time, instantly. None of this lag, none of this. And suddenly you're going to have people not only just communicate each other, but you know you're able to spend time in with it, you know, in a camp, you know, like this, or in a virtual, or whatever it will be. But we've not limited to the bandwidth we're on. I mean, for instance, we're running on very small bandwidths. Imagine giving us the capabilities, the studio equipment, and all that of what I don't know. Jay-Z has his hands on. But that's given to you guys, and you can go and produce and work with somebody on the other side of the world. And like I said, these are the glimpses I've seen, and that I think is going to change everything. When you not only just have the ability to musicians to speak to each other, and I'm witnessing how you guys are, but then you take that to the next level of like, wow, can you imagine now being able to collaborate, form, just all sorts of things. You know, that's what I'm trying to say. I mean, for instance, I've spoken to you many times. Just bands all around the world would just love to do collaborations with you guys, but right now it's time, and we live in these clunky times and stuff like that. Man, it's gonna. That's what I'm saying. We're very close to that. To me, where we're gonna have the ability to collaborate, and all that is gonna change. I think it's going to be one of the fundamental ones. I don't think many people have really wrapped their heads around about what this decentralized world is going to do. It's not just going to be the fact of, you know, you've got privacy and you've got security and all the rest of it. That's one thing. The biggest element of having those fundamental privacy and freedom is going to be the ability. Oh wow, we've all got supercomputers on our hands. Now let's see what we can do with supercomputers. So instead of that being in a rarefied office of, like, you know, some suit in IBM or some, you know, guy at a university, suddenly Dan and Si have got this, you know, their hands on a supercomputer. Oh man, that's going to be interesting days.
Game over. Everyone else.
I win.
Yeah, man. No, the world's moving at an alarming rate, though, isn't it? Like technology and stuff. So
yeah, man. I guess
it's exciting times.
Touched on what you were saying earlier on about, you know, just people being able just to make music, find the time to be creative, and why not make a fucking album? You know, why not shoot in Ryan's case a film? You know, like, anything's possible. So, and with that, with technology and that growing, and that's just more power at your fingertips, really, isn't it?
Well, again, I mean, this is what I'm trying to say. This is why this stuff isn't just fanciful talk at, late at night on a Wednesday night in September. I mean, for instance, I mean, one of the off branches of Life is People is sessions. Now, last sessions, when it was, again, I was just like, can we just take a breather and think about what we just done? That whole of that was done in a virtual live second world. So the whole thing was done, you know, so Smudgy, when she came on, that was being played out in a second world with avatars. And I had to sort of take a step back at the end and think, this is 2000. We're actually doing this shit, man. This isn't just, you know, sitting around, you know, dreaming this crap up, man. And this is I'm trying to say that these things are just going to evolve more and more and more and become more and more like originally, I mean, like you were saying earlier on, the Arctic Monkeys were maybe one of the first people on MySpace, and then everyone went on it. And it's like anything else. So there's always the early adopters, and right now, this is a historical fact. The Demons have been at that peak and climbed that mountain since day one, man. So you're going to be, in some ways, one of the great, because of where you are. It's one of the great things about being an outsider and someone who pushes it. You're more aware of the tools that are coming, and that's what I'm saying. You're going to be one of the first to play with these tools, and it's going to be an immense thing. Because, as I said, I one of the things I can definitely testify to, particularly with the Demons, and you know, it relates to this whole thing what we talk about tonight, is I've known how much you've not only influenced but have just affected bands. And I can speak from bands from Australia, Argentina, you know, America, all over the world that have literally, I told you many times in private, and I could get a list of people. And that to me is why I always try to express to you that you've got to, what you're doing is leaving legacies behind. And it goes back to one of yours. You're leaving legacies and you're affecting people that you're never going to meet. You're never going to, and that's why it's so powerful. And it is, man. And that's why I thought back the other day. I thought, wow, if you were doing this 20 years ago, you'd been lucky to get outside of Newcastle. And now you could be affecting bands in Australia, Argentina, all around the world. And that is immense. And then pushing that forward, imagine where, you could actually get to, that's what I look forward to. I want the people to meet. That's why I always try to say, I'd love you to, instead of being like, okay, I know I'm being the middleman between this band and that band, you go and connect with them, because you're on the same page. And that's what the technology is going to open up this ability to do. And that's going to be a very powerful thing, because when you can start to connect with other musicians and we're not stuck with languages or any of these things, and it's going to be an immense thing. Because I've seen, and it goes back to what you were talking about earlier on, I've seen this in the Demons. You've been able to connect with, say, like you say, Jonathan Swift and what that whole influence did, and then you've seen that influence in your music. You've experimented with this and that, Raz, and that's just in a little area of the UK. Imagine now that outreach where you're doing the next one is like, oh, we're doing something with some guy in Uganda, and it's like, what? Oh yeah, because we can. What do you mean? Oh yeah, because we can. And that's going to be an immense thing, man.
Yeah, right on, man. I think with technology, the world becomes a smaller place, and that can only be good for the unity that we also touched on before. So yeah, man, there's only one way, and that's forward, man. And you just got to keep slaying positive and slaying forward to get there.
Oh, well, 100%, man. And as you know, I mean, like we've kind of spoken about tonight, this, always pushing forward. And again, there's a lot of things going on, man. And all I can say, and I'm quite happy to say is, it's going to be there's some people, keep your eyes out, man, because there's some big stuff coming from every direction, man. You're gonna be hit by a tidal wave of Demons stuff. Put it that way, you know what I mean? It's coming, man, and it's going to be really good. Now, one of the things I have to sort of, again, and it's a constant plea and cry to me, man. Hopefully, when you do drop the next album, or at some point, I got to come and satisfy your Scottish Demons, man. Come and play some gigs up here in Scotland.
Yeah, we definitely need to, man.
I'd love to, man.
It's something that we really need to get down. It was great. I mean, we've only done Doune The Rabbit Hole so far, and we almost got on the bill again for it, but there's something when a bit tits up in the system, and basically it fell through. But we'd love to get ourselves over the border and do some gigs and that, man. It's been a long time coming, it feels like, doesn't it?
Yeah, definitely, mate. I mean, same with, there's a lot of places in the UK we'd love to play in that, it's hard for us, I guess, without a booking agent to get all that ironed out. But there's a lot of good people out there. We've made some really great connections, and I think we'd love to play Scotland and in Edinburgh, Glasgow, anywhere like that, man. That'd be really great. So yeah, I'd love to play a gig there, man. It's just get them on booked and in the pipeline, mate.
Okay, man. While we're here, I really want to hear that something that you just spoken about. I really like to illuminate more, because I know there'll be people who listen to this and and they can find a solution. Now, you just mentioned there, Si, that booking agents. Okay, again, let's decentralize this. Let's take out the middleman. Let's take out the what are the process. So you as a band, when you talk about you're using a booking agent, what I mean. what exactly is that, Brad? Is that you having someone you have to pay money to get you gigs, or is it finding out? And you know what I mean. And what barriers would you like? To, what if you could take them down? What would what would be your perfect world where you go, okay, I don't, let's get rid of this one, and what? Because what I'm trying to say is, from my perspective, I'd imagine all you want to do is like, can I contact a venue or be a place where I could go and have that on a system where I'm not having to go through some sort of middlemen. I don't know. Tell me about that experience, and again, because I'm sure that for any experience you may give, there'll be people listening to this who go, okay, there's an app to be built there.
Right, yeah, man. I've seen quite a few good sites and that like emerging in recent sort of times that are like looking towards making this more easier.
Gigmate.
Yeah, there's a German site called Gigmate.
Giggity.
There's Giggity. I guess Gigs Northeast as well, and
Musically.
Yeah, Musically. A lot of these sort of sites, so they're kind of they're offering artists gigs, basically. Like the Gigmate. There's a lot. It's based in Germany, so there's a lot of gigs and shows in that kind of neck of the woods, and it's something I see emerging, but I don't know how successful. I don't think it's got to that point yet. But basically, because with a booking agent, if you had doing the whole music project, there's a lot of hats you have to wear and that. So we could probably go about and try and do that whole thing, but there's a lot of work entailed in it, and I guess with a booking agent, the role, you if you approach one approached you, you'd imagine that they'd have quite a lot of contacts to begin with, because that's the foundation of it all, is who you know. But basically, yeah, just sending a load of dates out, seeing what venues are free when, and just
making sure that you're taken care of.
Yeah,
as well. But
yeah, like where you're gonna stay and all that jazz. Like it's quite
how you're gonna get there sometimes, or
transport. It's a lot to sort, to be honest. Like, so stuff like Gigs Northeast, for just an example, that's a website that's based in northern England, in the northeast, and they'll put up, for example, just a list of support slots. This is quite a recent thing, I'd say. In the last, I don't know, maybe 18 months I've seen this, where it's like, maybe you'd be trying to dig out who a promoter is, try and hit, do the groundwork yourself to see if you can get on a support slot. Whereas these guys, they've got like the list of bands that are playing, and they'll need a support. So that there's a way in. It's step by step. I think it's getting kind of better, but I definitely think there could be an app that is like a lot more on point for the artist, I guess.
Well, perfect, man. And I just want to sort of relay this to you. Ryan sends his apologies for not turning up tonight. I think he's got a lung infection. Man.
Is he watching it?
I don't know if he's watching or not, but if you are Ryan, man, yeah, go ahead. All the best, dude.
If he watches back and that, all the best, my man. It's a shame we couldn't see him. I just got to say, I really love his latest record.
We've been listening to that a lot, man.
The instrumental, where the sun meets the land. Been listening to that in the car quite a lot. And, really
take it easy, Ryan. Breathe.
Well, let's put it this way. On sort of like the theme of this conversation, let's hope it's not another 2 years before we all get to meet each other in person. And I don't just mean over screens, because that's to me. It kind of like the theme of this conversation, really, man. We can have these conversations and talk like this, but there is nothing like putting us all in a room together and actually meeting human to human. Because, as you know, I feel as I said before, and I'm quite open to say this, I feel honoured and to call you two, dear friends of mine. But for all the experiences we've had in, private conversations, and man, the best experience has been when we've been in person, and they'll always will be. They're life memories. I'll never forget driving through Stirling at 3 o'clock in the morning, killing in the name of, man. That's a life memory, man.
Yeah, yes, mate, of course. That was class.
Man, before we do sort of, I want to wrap this up, and like I say, I'm going to see if I can pop the screenshot of there's something again. I don't want to overly sort of speak about, but it's something I'm going to be sort of like announcing over the next sort of coming weeks. The projects I'm working on called Tundra, so maybe we'll finish with that. But before I do go, when we do wrap this up, man, it's a completely left field question, and I sort of feel it's quite relevant to an article I saw last week. How did you two find life in Richmond, man, with no Waitrose?
You read that shit. You read that shit. Oh, mate, it's absolutely dire, mate. I tell you what, it's absolutely dire, mate. Like, I cannot get me fucking tofu when I need it. I've got to go down to the fucking Harrogate or Otley or some fucking other place because I can't get tofu. Ah, fucking hell, man. No, what a load of shit that was, to be fair. Like, it was funny. It was funny, man. But yeah, she's just one of them journalists, though, man, who I believe just thrives off the controversy. So I think she was just looking to create a reaction, and she kind of I think she's done it before, and like she's lived somewhere, I believe Essex or somewhere down south in the countryside, and written some pretty nasty articles about where she's living, and I basically isolated herself, and then fucking has to move somewhere else, and that. So hate's only going to attract hate, and no one likes hate. So
you might have to inform people what we're actually talking about.
Need to say no more. Yeah, there's an article. Is it Liz Jones? I believe she's called, something like that. Some journalist anyway. Oh, you're getting it up.
No, dude. I'm just going to get out where I'm going to finish off. But yeah, Liz Jones, she was.
Yeah, but basically just talking about the whole sort of countryside around where we live and that, really.
Well, what I found fascinating, man, and I think it's sort of, before we do wrap this up, I think it relates into this whole conversation that maybe we've had since we first met, is that it was a perfect example of somebody who's completely out of touch with what it's like to be in nature and life. I mean, some of the comments about the Waitrose was one thing, but it was like, I see dead rabbits. I'm like, well, that's life on this rock, and it goes back to what I was saying before, love. We wanted to go out and take a step, look at the stars above you, and realize that this is life, and it's just a perfect example. And the reason I mentioned that was because it was just, I think it's a perfect example of duality. Some people can live in the same town and places you got. You write Jules sides, and all she can complain about is she hasn't got Waitrose, and there's some cyclists going past, and some dead rabbits. And I thought that is sums up life completely, because some people haven't got a clue. We really haven't got a clue. So I'm going to see if I can put this screen share up. Let's see if hopefully you'll be able to see this in a minute.
Can I just do one thing as well just before, like, mate? Like, I just wanted to just show you the final for Lost Away.
Oh, of course, man, of course.
We got some physical copies last week, man. It's just dropped and that. So I just wanted to show you the wax on the screen, man, because it's a massive fucking it's just a proud moment for us, really, man. And, oh shit, hang on. So you got this little thing here.
Nice, man.
And that, you know what I mean? It's great to see something tangible, man. You know what I mean? So yeah, just massively blessed to finally get that out, and I just wanted to say as well, if anyone's watching, like, and in Richmond this weekend, we're doing a fundraiser for Papyrus on Saturday. So if anyone's around, just getting folks. Papyrus are a charity support for young people against suicide. So it's a flag that we can constantly try and wave. So yeah, man, just want to give a quick shout out to that.
Free as well. Yeah.
Well, two things. Number one, where can people go out and purchase the Lost single?
Lost Away, man. It should be it's in quite a few record stores, I believe, like Rough Trades, Jumbo Records, Crash
In Leeds, yeah.
So hopefully it's in record stores. You can find it online on record stores and also on the Come Play With Me website.
You go to www.cpwm.co, so it's just .co, and you can buy it on there. You can also pick up a copy of us in person at shows, but we've got limited availability. So if you see us at a show and we still just ask us if we've still got any, and we're happy to sort people out. But if you want it online, go to www.cpwm.co, which is the Come Play With Me website, and
they're doing a lot of good things.
Purchase a copy of that from there, because they're doing a lot of good things to support independent music, man. And
yeah, in the region, it's a split with a band called Maggie 8, and we're also just a little heads up as well. There's official for this, which should be on its way, possibly in the next day, possibly tomorrow.
Possibly tomorrow.
We don't know for certain, and I probably shouldn't say anymore, but we're looking forward to sharing that.
And I believe, just another little plug, just getting all these plugs out there.
Get them out, dude. That's what we're here for.
Another little plug. I believe we are due for a session on BBC York, introducing in the next few weeks. I'm not entirely sure about the day, but that's something else which is bubbling up. So keep your ears to the ground and eyes to the ceiling.
Okay, man. Well, like I say, is there any other dates, gigs, particularly you want to give a shout for? I know you're giving a couple, but are there any particular ones that you really particularly want to flag up?
We don't have a lot booked at the moment, other than this Papyrus gig, really. So yeah, we're just kind of waving the flag for that. But that's this Saturday in Richmond. So yeah, we did the launch for that single last Thursday at the Brunel Leeds, which is brilliant. But yeah, we're I guess we'll see if anything comes up or out, which we might do. But just been doing quite a lot of shows and that in recent times, and it's nice to have a bit of a step back from it. But I mean, we'll see what comes up, man.
Nice one. And before we do sort of finish, like I say, I mean, I guess I'll give you a quick description. I mean, it'll all be there, but they just wanted to say, as always, lads, it's always an honour and a pleasure to talk to you two guys. And
you too, my man.
As I said before, man, and I don't think it's never a bad thing to reiterate this, man. It was 2 years ago, you started off this conversation, and we remember it was inspired greatly by a conversation we had previously to that. So I'll always be grateful, and it'll always serve as every time I see the name Life is People, man, I'm always just inspired by well, it kind of really sums up where the journey that we us three in this conversation have been, but personally, man, and I'll always be, and it's always an honor and it's always a privilege, and that's just been me being real from the bottom of my heart, man. It's I could like I say, before we do wrap this up, man, I just want to say, I know it's an obvious one, but where can people find you?
So just you can find us on Bandcamp and SoundCloud for our music. That's sealanddemons.bandcamp.com. You can find us at soundcloud.com/sealanddemons. Just put Sealing Demons into YouTube or Spotify, and it will come up with our music. And you can find us on and link up, hit us up on social media.
Facebook, Twitter is a source we use quite a lot.
At Ceiling Demons, and same for Instagram as well, at Ceiling Demons.
Well, perfect, man. Well, I'm going to attempt to play out of this screenshot, and it'll all be self-explanatory, and I will be tripping out more information about this project in the next coming few days and weeks and stuff. But as always, from over here in Scotland, it's been an absolute, as I said before, an honour and privilege. And as you always know, the door's always open on this, podcast to you two guys. And well, from here in Scotland, all the way down there in Richmond, I want to say, life is people, people.
Life is people. Life is people.
Well, it's just many definitions of demon. Yeah, true. Many definitions. I don't know, like fucking. It's all the things that I don't know. Like it's all like the monsters and the sort of these sort of feelings and emotions in your life which can plague you. You know what I mean? Mental health. Mental health is a demon. If you're a depressed person, depression, that's a demon. If you're an alcoholic, drinking, that's a demon. It's things that can hold you back. The negativity. It also, on the flip to that, demons fucking give you something to fucking strive, something to be, something. When you're working your ass off, you're working like a demon. You know what I mean? Like many meanings behind demon, I think. You gotta live in the moment, and if you're the creative type and that, you're making something which gonna last longer than you, hopefully. Like, do you know what I mean? So it's good to it's good to put that feeling that into things. You know what I mean? And that sparks feelings in others and stuff. Man, yeah. Gotcha. Distraction, like they're trying to distract you from it. And even looking into the sky, mate, you get to somewhere in the countryside or something, because stars, the longer you see them up there, the more you tend to see. And then you start. I've seen other things fucking satellites. And that's all distractions as well, man. That's what I reckon. So yeah, you gotta try and look beyond even that shit sometimes. You know what I mean? Look the truth in the eye and then fucking question that, man. Like cutthroat. Look in the mirror and question that a million times. You're gonna get a different answer, right? Perspective, man. So channeling the inner demons and trying to create something, and like say, art inspires art along the way. So we're all inspired by the things we love, the arts we love, and our console and our ripples, and that's just the law of it, man. That's just the law of it. Well, it's just many definitions of demon. Yeah, true. Many definitions. I don't know, like fucking. It's all the things that I don't know. Like it's all like the monsters and the sort of these sort of feelings and emotions in your life which can plague you. You know what I mean? Mental health. Mental health is a demon. If you're a depressed person, depression, that's a demon. If you're an alcoholic, drinking, that's a demon. It's things that can hold you back, the negativity. It also, on the flip to that, demons fucking give you something to fucking strive, something to be, something. When you're working your ass off, you're working like a demon. You know what I mean? Like many meanings behind demon, I think. You gotta live in the moment, and you know, if you're a creative type and that, you're making something which is gonna last longer than you, hopefully. Like, do you know what I mean? So it's good to it's good to put that feeling into things. You know what I mean? And that sparks feelings in others and stuff. Man, yeah. Sorry, Jack. Distraction, like the trying distraction from it, and you know, even looking in the sky, you get to somewhere in the countryside or something, because stars, the longer you see them up there, the more you tend to see. And then you start noticing other things like fucking satellites. That's all attractions as well, man. That's what I reckon. So yeah, you got to try and look beyond even that shit sometimes. You know what I mean? Look the truth in the eye and then fucking question that, man. Like, look in the mirror and question that a million times. You're gonna get a different answer, right? Different perspective, man. So channeling the inner demons, you know, trying to create something, and like say, art inspires art along the way. So we're all inspired by the things we love, the arts we love, and our content and our ripples, and you know,